If you are a frequent listener to the podcast, you know that we have been sponsored by Fuji Sports for quite some time now. Whether you're looking for apparel, equipment, bags, or accessories, Fuji Sports has got it covered. Go to fujisports.com to see the latest selection of everything you need for your Jiu Jitsu, Judo, or MMA journey. That's fujisports.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about RŌL TV. If you're looking to take your Jiu Jitsu to the next level and supplement your BJJ education, then RŌL TV has you covered. RŌLAcademy.tv has over 1,500 videos covering individual techniques, positions, and concepts, including seminars and workshops with top-level competitors and instructors like Chris Wojcik, Robert Drysdale, Aaron Hurley, Emily Kwok, and more. Whether you are a beginner or a more advanced student, RŌL TV is the online platform that can take your jiu-jitsu to the next level. What's up, everyone, and welcome back. If you haven't already, please hit the like, share, subscribe, download, listen, and whatever other button there is, and leave us a review wherever you do listen. This helps us bring you the great guests and amazing content that you've come to expect. In this conversation, Eddy discusses his journey in jiu-jitsu, the importance of functional patterns and structural mobility, and the future of the sport as it continues to integrate with technology and AI. He reflects on his personal growth, the role of community and leadership in jiu-jitsu, and his aspirations to continue evolving as an athlete and instructor. Here's the RŌL Radio with an Eddy Bravo black belt, combat jiu-jitsu champ, and an EBI-1 vet, Benjamin Eddy.
Welcome to RŌL Radio.
And we're live. Ben, welcome to the show. How is your day going?
It's going good. It's going good. Started out with a little bit of sun, a little bit of grounding, and then we got some functional patterns working this morning. So
yeah, we were talking about this just briefly before we started formally record this. And do share. I think this is one of the more underestimated parts of our training, and what does this look like for those who don't know what pattern training is? What is the purpose of this in your case?
Well, it's a methodology. Functional patterns it's a particular methodology that I can't remember the name of the main trainer who's putting it out, but if you look at functional patterns on Instagram, that's where he shares his methodology. And then the trainer I'm using here in Austin is Eric Solorzano. But it's a particular methodology that he's putting forward of like how you should move your body for like athletic movements. And so he's worked with like Kyle Dake and like a bunch of other kind of like higher level MMA and like wrestling guys that I've seen so far. He works, he like has like gyms in different areas, and they kind of like generally just work for the public, and they're very good at like getting people's spines realigned and like kind of just kind of general health, but they are starting to work with athletes now. And yeah, basically it's just like kind of a methodology around like how your hips should move, how your shoulders should move, how your whole body should be kind of like moving together, and they just kind of help you like be smarter about it. So I'm like still catching up to everything. I'm just like a couple months in right now, working with Eric, and but it's taught me a lot about like how to like more properly like nest my shoulders, like how to use my shoulders. I was keeping my shoulders very like kind of dislocated, very low, and as you bring them up and as you like kind of like retract your scapula and you kind of engage that, you're engaging your lats and your obliques and everything, and then you figure out how that gets connected to your glutes and your hips, and figuring out how to turn your hips over or kind of be posterior with your hips or anterior, and when to do that.
That seems like an important part of mobility, especially when it comes to jiu-jitsu, doesn't it?
Yeah. It's been really cool because it's allowed me, like I'm already been like very, very focused on my movement and like always trying to learn and get smarter with my movement, my balance, my everything. I've always been putting a lot of time into that, but I haven't had it like super technically broken down, kind of like how they're doing, and some of their rotational like kind of concepts and the way he's teaching me to use my hips and especially my shoulders. I just didn't realize like how, I don't know, the way I've been using my shoulders has been a lot more dislocated. So yeah, there's been just many little details. It's like, you know, you learn a concept in jiu-jitsu. When you learn it, it's like a concept. It applies to all of jiu-jitsu. It's like that's like something here that you're learning for your body. You learn a way to move that's better. It's just gonna apply to everything, you know. So
I feel like many would listen to this and say like that's a nerd level 1000. Like I come to jiu-jitsu, many would say I come to jiu-jitsu to just pound some heads into the floor or break some arms or you know, have some physical activity, and you're talking about, you know, how my spine is moving, how my shoulders are aligned and all that. What in your vision, like what is the importance of the structural mobility when it comes to our body and then relation to jiu-jitsu?
I mean, yeah, it's just learning how to move. You know, when you use all the words you need to use to be able to actually like detail exactly what you're doing, that's like the nerd level. But otherwise, it's just at the basic level, it's just like this is how you take a step, this is how you turn over for a kick. You know, I could tell you need to turn and then raise your foot, but if I'm not telling you what to do with your hips, how to like actually engage your shoulders through that, it's like actually knowing how your muscular system, how your fascia is supposed to be connecting throughout this movement. Yeah, you can get real nerdy with the terms when you're understanding it granularly like that, but otherwise at the base, it's like the least nerdy thing, right? It's the most just like basic thing. It's just like movement. So, yeah.
You find it beneficial so far?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's making me. I mean, I've always been like focused on like realizing that I've always been improving my movement. That's like been a big focus for me. But just working with these guys with functional patterns has made me realize how many more big holes I still have in my understanding of that. And so it makes me just want to like start seeking out everybody that's a body movement like kind of person or healer or anything just in general, because each one of these like little tunes and these little changes in your body movement, it's like, again, it's like you learned a concept in jiu-jitsu. It just applies to everything. So you know, you learn when to put your hips in and when to put your hips out. You're learning how to use your hips. I mean, you can't really like define how valuable that is for you. That's just like
Do you feel like you, in a way, starting something from the very beginning? I mean, you've been on the mat for a long time at this point. Like, many would say you should know how to move. Like, I mean, many would say you should know how to move your hips. I mean, hips are the center of mobility in jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah.
And now you're describing.
I know, it's wild. It's wild how many times you just keep on getting made to feel like a white belt. There's so many parts that you just keep stepping in and you're like, damn, okay, I'm still a white belt in this part. So yeah.
Is that refreshing to you, or do you have to drive or like really make it this intentional to be a student again?
It's refreshing. Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, there's always both sides. There's always the side that of yourself that's like, damn, okay, I still have that much of a glaring hole. You know, there's the side that eats it, and there's the side that's like, you know, interested, enjoying learning. I love being a student. I'm trying to consume everything, just in all aspects of life. I'm always trying to learn everything. So I don't mind that, and I'm always in the student space. But yeah, there's definitely still a side of you though that's like, how am I just now hearing about this? You know, it's like that with so many things. You know,
do you feel like there is a point in our life? This might be different for different people, but do you feel like we'll ever achieve a point in our life where we no longer have to sponge new information or learn new information?
well, no, I mean, you'll always be taking in levels of new. I just think we are in a unique time in general where where all the information is kind of being brought together because we have this ability to have communication across everyone. And we've had that now for a good amount of time to where all of the knowledge is really synthesizing. So I do think we're at this unique point where all the disciplines are synthesizing their knowledge together. And those knowledge people, they're still in niches, but they're starting to see all the other niches, and they're starting to synthesize to synthesis, And so it's actually starting to come together to, like, I don't know, I just see all the different teachers, all the different people. We're actually trying to get a real synthesis of movement. We don't actually have it yet. Like we have, functional patterns will tell you their way. This other guy will tell you his way. This other guy will tell you his way. They all have like little tweaks on it. In the next 10, 20 years, it's going to be one way, because there's only one best way to move your body. There's not like, it's not like a your truth, my truth type of deal. There's one way that the body moves best.
Right. So let me get this. Let me make sure that I understand this. Are you saying that in the next decade or two, jiu-jitsu instructors will be teaching specific way how to move their bodies because the mechanics of the bodies are essentially the same for everybody?
I think jiu-jitsu instructors will probably take it on a bit. Yeah, I'm sure. But I think in general, I think us as people, in the next 10, 20 years, it's going to be a completely different society. We don't know anything about food right now. We don't know anything about health. We're like all babies, like waking up to like our gut, what we're eating, what's in our environment, how we're moving. We're all just like super dumb animals that have been like living in a cage for the last like 30 years. And we're like just finally waking up to like, oh, this is how you move. This is how you eat. In the next 20 years, we're going to be unrecognizably different. And I think that just that general understanding, it'll be much more basic. And our whole kind of, us as a people will just share that understanding a lot better because what I've kind of gone through this time. So yeah, I think us as jiu-jitsu coaches in 20 years, we will be sharing that knowledge, but we'll kind of still stay in our lane. We'll still be teaching jiu-jitsu, but jiu-jitsu itself is coming of age. It's going through that same process itself. So in 20 years, the way jiu-jitsu is taught is going to be way more synthesized because we're going to have figured out the sport a lot more cleanly, a lot more clearly. Right now, we're really in this like development phase.
How do you envision that in 20 years? I mean, 20 years is a long time. If we look at, jiu-jitsu in 2000, about 20, 25 years ago, it looked very different than what it does today. What's your vision of jiu-jitsu in 2040?
It's a lot more cohesive amongst the different grappling arts. We've been starting to, we went through that phase of really growing up to leg locks and all of the leg entanglements and everything. And now we've switched over to the exact opposite, which is like we're starting to catch up to wrestling and kind of the whole stand-up meta. So wrestling's kind of joining and coming in. I'm sure like judo's going to come in here and start playing a space too. You see J-Flow like kind of switching it up with people. And so I think the different grappling arts are going to kind of synthesize together and kind of get more cohesive because during the leg lock phase and even before that, we were much more, you even watch before the leg lock era, you watch like early 2000s jiu-jitsu. We never even passed from our feet. All the passing was on your knees. Like even in the highest level competition, we were watching ADCC and these guys are passing from their knees. No one passed from the feet. Not to say that's not bad. You can definitely still get down on your knees and pressure pass, and that's still super legit. But it just like today when you watch the sport, almost 90% of the time people are standing passing almost the whole time. So just this level, Craig Jones with his just stand up kind of meta. So this whole like stand up, like us getting better at wrestling, judo, standing passing, us being in guard and just deciding to stand up out of stuff. We kind of have this whole standing evolution that's happening within jiu-jitsu as well. So kind of just incorporate a deeper synthesis amongst that range of like standing, then all the way down to like, deep leg entanglement guard positions. We have interesting things that we're learning about the difference between top and bottom with like, you know, guys like Craig as well are also making the argument that when you take the back, you're actually now putting yourself on bottom. And so as our development of back defense keeps on improving, potentially we're going to stop making that decision. Maybe we only want back top mount, or we only want top mount, but we don't really want back with our hips on the mat, because then we're technically kind of putting ourselves in guard. And so if this guy survives our back attack, we're going to be on bottom. So Craig
Do you
actually
think that?
argued
Do you think
significantly
the
like
old? Do you think all these theories or these methods limit the creativity of jiu-jitsu in some way? I'm thinking, okay, so if we limit the back control to only being on a back mount, but our hips never touch the ground, I mean, that removes substantial amount of back attacks. Whether right or wrong, whether you believe it or not, it doesn't matter. But I'm just talking about the amount of accessibility.
Yeah. Limit. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there will always be room for the exception, and you will always be able to play the exception path, because there's always going to be a reason for doing that, which is that like as the meta moves to another place, people are now not as used to this option, and so whenever you're playing something that someone's not very used to, you have a little bit of an advantage. So that's why the meta always kind of moves, because now this guy's doing this because the meta's over here, so he can be the outlier. So there's always going to be room for that guy to try to be the outlier, and to be the specialist over here while everyone's specializing over there.
Well, it's something that you're describing with a stand-up now, particularly. I mean, for last decade or two, everybody's been pulling guard, or guard playing, what has been quite visible, right? Is that the reason why guys like J Flow or many others, or even wrestling, becomes a dominant part of what we do as grapplers?
Yeah, that's kind of like initially that's the outlier move. That's the weak point. You could call it a weak point, I guess, too. It's like if the meta has a weakness, if you're the first ones to kind of move into that weakness, then you're the first ones to be able to take advantage of that. So yeah, jiu-jitsu had this weakness, with it wasn't necessarily with wrestling, but it was with wrestlers who knew jiu-jitsu. Like if you're also very good at jiu-jitsu and you're now good at wrestling, okay, now that's the combo of those two. Like, because a jiu-jitsu guy demolishes just a general wrestler guy. He takes a shot, we're gonna guillotine him. But now if you have like jiu-jitsu wrestling, then okay, that's a little different.
Do you think that there ever will be a time where this whole thing will become cohesive? And what I mean by this is, look at 90s, half guard was popular. Then we went through 2000s and a variety of different inverted guards and a lot of barambolos and other things, right? Then we kind of stumble upon this leg lock period, and I feel like that's kind of fading away slowly now. But again, now you're mentioning stand-up is the one that nobody does, and it becomes the weakness, right? And it's like, once the stand-up, everybody knows how to stand up, everybody knows how to shoot and do takedowns from wrestling or judo perspective, something else will come up. Do you feel like there will ever be a time where this whole thing will be cohesive in a sense, where we're learning all of it together and there's no weaknesses? Or will there always be a weakness?
I think that we'll at least get all of the major weaknesses out of the way. I think we're still bumping into some like massive holes. Like, oh, we didn't play with all these leg entanglements. That's half the body. Why would you not forget half the body? Like they kind of say, oh, now we're catching up to stand up. That's half the game, you could say. So like these are kind of like big holes. I think we'll eventually round out all of these big holes. I'm not sure if stand-up is the last big hole necessarily. Maybe it is. It's hard to really like kind of see the holes before you really see them. But
well, some might say the holes are generated by what happened in the past, right? So by the time we reach to that point, something else gets exposed, right?
Yeah, but I think we hadn't integrated those things yet. Like it just hadn't actually, like wrestling hadn't actually been integrated into jiu-jitsu. We had wrestlers and they could do wrestling style shots. We didn't have jiu-jitsu style wrestling shots, which are very different. It's very different.
Mhm.
There's 80% of the type of shots and things you would do in wrestling would get you in trouble in jiu-jitsu. If you watch jiu-jitsu wrestling, it's very different. Like you watch Jason Nolf go against the RŌL twins, and it's like he can't even take those guys down. You watch his match in CGI, and he can't take him down. And the RŌL twin actually almost takes him down.
Do you,
Like they actually had a really good stand-up battle for a while there.
yeah.
So
Do you feel
and
that
Jason
that
also
comes?
is taking out the best guys in wrestling. So like he's like actually literally at the top of the sport. Plus he's spent this much time with jiu-jitsu already. So jiu-jitsu wrestling is just different. You watch another great example was in Aiga, Team Kasai against the Dagestani team. And in the wrestling exchanges, it was actually Aiga won more. Their teammates, or it's not Aiga, sorry, Team Kasai won more of the wrestling exchanges than the Team Dagestani guys did. Between Pedro Mourinho and what's the name of the guy that just won trials and
What do you
right
think
now?
that this? Do you think that this comes from the skill difference or from the environment difference? I mean, if you take rules of wrestling and compare them to jiu-jitsu, they are very different. I mean, the environments are very different, right? I mean, wrestler simply your back touches the ground, you kind of get your t-shirt and you go home, in a sense, right? I mean, in jiu-jitsu, many would say, well, this is just the beginning of the game. By simple that, your double legs, any type of shooting or penetration takedown will be very different because of what the environment, what the rules of engagement are.
Yeah, no, I think it's a environment thing. I mean, skills in a sense because you're choosing different moves and you don't have the move that you need in this correct environment. So that's a skill gap in a sense too. But yeah, the reason why the difference is because the environment has changed. Wrestlers aren't used to have back takes. They're not used to two main things: back takes and getting their heads taken like guillotines. We understand the guillotine difference like really well, but I don't think we understand how much it changes wrestling that you can take their back. That's not something that wrestlers are ever really used to having to deal with. Like you saw Jason Nolf go for that fireman's carry. He went for that fireman's carry on Andrew Tackett and in the UFC BJJ. And Andrew Tackett just immediately took his back. And even afterwards, Jason Nolf like posted on his Instagram like, "No, I know how to do this fireman's carry. All I need to do is control the head more, and I could do this fireman's carry even in jiu-jitsu, and it would work." And so he like posted on his Instagram how he was supposed to do it and what he messed up. But honestly, like what he was talking about, like if you watch the clip, he did exactly what he talked about that he should have done. He controlled Andrew's head. It's just Andrew just turned like a dime and really forced that back take. And you're just not used to someone actually trying to go for a back take like that on a fireman's carry. You wouldn't try and do that in wrestling. So there's a lot of shots like that just they're different because people want to take your back, people want to take your neck, and even people want to fall back into arm bars or fall back into guard attacks. So wrestling shots are just way different. There's only a small few that make it over to jiu-jitsu.
Do you feel that at some point in the future, maybe a decade or two from now, all of this will become a blend of we simply engaging into one grappling, let's just say for the sake of words here, but one grappling engagement versus having these different disciplines of different sports, like whether it's wrestling, jiu-jitsu, or nogi jiu-jitsu, or judo even. Do you think all of this will blend?
Well, no, because that's like, so what these sports are at their core is it's what we want to see. It's what we want to see as the winning part. So, for example, in wrestling, we want to see someone get controlled and put their back flat. That's what we think is a win. We think a win, a control. Like if you're really controlling your opponent, then you can hold him back flat. You can be on top and you can hold his back flat to the mat and he can't do anything about it. And that's a good argument. I mean, that's a good argument. So wrestling is built on that argument that if you can control your man and put his back to the mat and he can't do anything about it, that's a pin. That's a win. So that's that. I think we'll always want to see who can pin someone, and that's what wrestling is. And so jiu-jitsu is who can submit someone. So it's the environment is built around submissions. It's built around you needing to be aware that submissions are available. And then judo is like who can throw someone, and specifically throw them and have the rotation of their shoulders roll through like the ippon. So those are just three things I think we're going to continue to want to see. We're going to want to see how can someone get pinned, how can someone get thrown, and how can someone get submitted. And so
do you visualize that at some point this will become a battle of styles in a way similar to what UFC was at the very beginning, wrestler versus jiu-jitsu, or karate guy striker against grappler, or in a similar sense here where some of these between wrestling, judo, and grappling or jiu-jitsu will have these ongoing battles of who is better here versus there?
The style battle is always just a short-term battle. The style battle is because that's just showing that there's areas that haven't been consumed into the whole yet. It hasn't turned into the MMA yet. It still has. There's still one style that is a weakness for the other people. Like that guy only gets to be a wrestler because everyone isn't wrestlers. Once everyone's wrestlers, then we're just doing MMA now. We're all have all the arts. So it's only style versus style when this guy's got wrestling and this guy's got jiu-jitsu. But once they both have wrestling and jiu-jitsu, now it's like, okay, which of the parts do they not have? Which of the parts of both do they not have? Or which of the parts of both have they not synthesized correctly? Or who just has the better game? Or who's just more athletic? Or, the other variables start to take over. So I think it's gonna like jiu-jitsu itself hasn't taken in these other parts, so we haven't really seen the MMA of jiu-jitsu yet. We haven't seen the full mixed martial jiu-jitsu. Mixed martial jiu-jitsu is still figuring out what that looks like, because we're literally figuring out how to stand up still. We're even learning how to we first learned a lot of more guard stuff, right? And now we're learning how to do way more stand-up stuff. And we have guys in the sport that are even telling us just stand up and selling DVDs off that, So we're learning, I think, at a very even basic level what mixed martial jiu-jitsu is even going to look like,
Well, based on what you're saying, we have exciting, decade or two ahead of us. I mean, there will be a lot of changes, a lot of evolution taking place.
Oh man, and especially just in the sense like we're only just now becoming professional athletes, I think too. That's the other level that's really stepping in. It's not even a skill or technical side, it's just a professional athlete side, because now the money's coming in, the eyes are here. We also have all these kids that have been growing up for so long that these guys are 18, 20, 22, so they're still young, they got all their energy, and they're full on, they're starting to do like functional patterns, or they're working with real trainers who are teaching them how to be real athletes, and they got budgets now to actually pay these trainers. So that's the other side that we're just starting to see, is what does it even look like to have real athletes perform this stuff at high speed. And I think actually another element that is really coming in is actually just kind of like flying jiu-jitsu. A lot more flying stuff. Let's just jump on all these different like kind of spots. There's a lot more. I've kind of been noticing that and even thinking about that in general. As long as we are not outlawing it, there's not a lot of negative in most points of jiu-jitsu for you just to jump into something, because if you don't get it, okay, you just flip right into the next part. I saw a recent one that I really liked, where I was watching Jason Nolf and Aiga, and to pass the guard, he like jumped across and like did this really nice flying guard jump pass right into mount. That I thought was really clean, and it was just another good example of like, we don't quite realize yet all of the different places we can constantly just be jumping, and I think when we see more of those get thrown in, it's going to really shake up different positions as well.
Do you think that all these components that you're mentioning are they going to increase the popularity of jiu-jitsu? I think what's interesting about all of this is that for a spectator, jiu-jitsu is not exciting yet, right? It's not as exciting as MMA. It's definitely not as exciting as judo or wrestling. I mean, those sports are very, just like you said, the flipping motion, the getting the ippon or getting pinned, that's very visible. In jiu-jitsu, there's so much under the hood that
Yeah.
it really makes it not spectator friendly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we got a lot of our like kind of little insular like kind of battles that we're used to, and so we're fighting for these little inches.
Mm-hmm.
And so this kind of helps to break us out of those ranges. So yeah, I think now that we're standing, jumping, we're constantly moving in between those two realms, and we're also becoming a lot more athletic. Yeah, I'm hoping it's going to end up looking like, and we're already seeing that it's going to end up looking like a much more dynamic, constantly fluid kind of game. So.
Well, so much ahead of us. This is going to be exciting to sit back and watch all of this and be part of this, right? Because ultimately, we're part of this evolution, right? That everybody who is in it, in whichever point of your journey you are, you kind of watching as it all continues unfolding.
That being said, I want to say that like one thing I do always really appreciate with jiu-jitsu and I really like is that there's always like a way that you can kind of slow it down, and there's always a way too that you can play the catch game and you can play the traps. Like I like that element that there's like a way to set traps and there's a way to play the slower kind of counter game to kind of like set up a good shield and then open up. I like that there's that ability to play speed, because whereas like let's say in wrestling, yeah, there is some ability to play with the speed. In general, you just kind of need to go get after it and outwork your guy, So I like that there is some element here where like, I could go against someone like let's say Andrew Tackett, and he's realistically just going to put on the pressure on me. But if I can find my right shields, if I can find my right kind of ways to break and move with it, and if I can set the right traps, I can still catch him. I can still slow him down. I can still find my ways to like kind of move and shake with that. I don't have to like be more dynamic, have more cardio than Andrew Tackett. I can use other aspects of the game, So I like that that's like there. I really like that that's and that will always be something that I think is available in jiu-jitsu, where we're definitely going to start tending way more towards the dynamic range and guys like Andrew Tackett, but you'll still be able to have like, I think you'll honestly always still be able to walk in as that 40-year-old guy and still play some old man jiu-jitsu, slow the game down, set up your right traps, and still catch that kid,
Yeah, I think that's what's so appealing to so many, that whether you are 16 or you 46, you can really engage in this in a different levels and different engagement points, whatever is desirable to you, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what gives it its age depth, which is also really cool.
Yeah, which doesn't necessarily exist or is not as visible in wrestling or judo, right? I mean, those are very heavy impact driven physical sports, right?
It doesn't really exist in any sport. There's not really any sport that you can feel like you're actually able to legitimately contend with the younger top talent at an older age. But
and recently I was talking to somebody and they said that jiu-jitsu is actually the only sport where amateur and professional can meet on the same stage. And I never thought about this. I mean, if you enter in any of the competitions, you can literally fight, or you can challenge yourself against somebody who is a professional and a world champion, a gold medalist, or whatever trophies or accolades they have. But this doesn't happen anywhere. Like, you can't play a game with Michael Jordan. Like, that doesn't happen, right? Like, or you can play hockey with Wayne Gretzky. Like, it just doesn't happen, right?
Yeah, and so not only that, but we're talking about, okay, you're gonna play basketball against Michael Jordan. Oh no, you lose. But you're gonna do jiu-jitsu against, Andrew Tackett, and he's gonna freaking rip your leg off. like you're doing this again in a sport where you're going for submissions. So it's kind of wild that you're gonna, yeah, you're able to go against professionals in a sport where you guys are fighting to see who can submit each other.
Do you feel that ever will separate as the jiu-jitsu continues growing as a professional sport? Meaning
Yeah,
you are going to have to qualify to be a professional just like it's in any other sport?
yeah, yeah. I think for one, the gap will be too. The gap already is too large, but I think it will be like just even because of the elements of athleticism uh, are now coming in and kind of the stand up level. Those will really start showing the gap to just another levels, and it's just going to be less and less safe, as we go forward for these amateurs. So yeah, I think there will be a an enforced plus we're just going to get, as more money and kind of eyeballs get on it, the professionals are just going to get kind of pulled out. We're already kind of seeing that with gyms, because that's another aspect that we like to talk about a lot, is like you can also go to any gym and you can just roll with Michael Jordan on the mats, but as we go on more and more time here, really the guys who are the top on the scene, they're mostly training with their pro team, and that might be housed at a regular family gym, and then they just have their pro sessions. But even more and more, we're seeing things like, how New Wave had the Roku gym, and it was just only pro guys that are training there, or how B Team is like really just kind of training with their main top guys in their little section, or so.
Well, but that only is going to be really, this is only going to grow if the money continues coming. I mean, all these guys need to get paid. These gyms need to coexist from a financial perspective, right? So like up to this point, you had the family guys or family people paying the dues so the professional can train. If this was to separate, there has to be some kind of financial backing, right?
Yeah. That's just assuming that these events actually start turning a profit and they're able to keep investing into us. But if that does happen, then yeah, I think you'll see a split in the gyms where there's going to be more pro gyms. There's going to be more, or even the gyms that are still happening within the all around gym. It's going to be pro sessions. So the sessions themselves will be split between amateur and pro.
So much exciting stuff ahead of us. I mean, this is just the beginning. Let's pivot this a little bit. Let's take this some time back and let's talk about how this all started for you. Do you remember your very first session, very first moment stepping on the mat?
Yeah. So I grew up doing wrestling, so I had already been grappling for a long time. But I remember, the first time doing jiu-jitsu. So I had moved to San Francisco when I was like 20, and I was just kind of like looking for just something to do, some kind of way to stay in shape. And I actually didn't really know that jiu-jitsu was a sport at that time. I had started watching UFC,
What year is this?
This was like 2009.
Okay.
So it hadn't really clicked to me though. Like I'd watched a little bit of UFC, but it hadn't really clicked that was like a specific sport that you could actually just train at gyms at, and these gyms were all over, and you could just like try out. So I was like looking around, researching, and then I found that out, and I was like, and especially like coming with my wrestling background, I kind of had always hoped I'd be able to keep competing or doing something. It really was a bummer that like past school time, I was just like then done with wrestling. I was like, oh, that's kind of bummer. So when I found jiu-jitsu, that was like a big shock to me. I was like, oh, oh, hell yeah, we're definitely doing this, So, so I was really stoked about it. I remember, I tried a few like different gi gyms first, and before I found 10th Planet, but just once. I like went to them just kind of like once, and then I found 10th Planet. So I remember the first gym I walked into though, what was this one gi gym in San Francisco, and we ended up going like rolls and doing stuff, and it had been like a while since I had like done anything, and so I actually like got super tired, and I ended up having to like throw up. Like I had to like throw up in the trash can. I had that like classic moment, and the coach even like drove me home. So
Do you think? Let's pause here for a
afterwards,
second. Was this difficult for you coming from the wrestling background, right? I mean, so you wrestled for
yeah,
years,
yeah,
and then there's a small break there, right? And you coming
yeah.
back, right? Is your mental state in a sense of, do you think you can still hang with these guys, even though this is a gi class or gi sparring situation, and then it
Yeah.
just your body doesn't hold up?
I mean, my mental is always good because I'm always gonna like, figure it out. But and it's kind of common for me. Like, I hadn't had a hard workout for a while, and so when I have that first hard workout back, that's just kind of a little common for me. I'll end up I gotta throw up when it's that first really hard workout. But definitely a lot of things were hitting me new, especially in the gi. They were controlling me, throwing me around. They were, just guillotining the hell out of me every time I took a shot. And so I was definitely just, yeah, I was a little like thrown for a loop for sure. And
What are you thinking?
I
And
liked that,
what's
I
it?
liked that. That gave me this whole. I was like, wow, okay, this is awesome. Like,
What's going through your mind? Because coming from wrestling background, that's very different to what you're walking into. And you said that at that point you don't even know much about jiu-jitsu. So there
yeah,
has to be, you got to be questioning yourself at that point. It's like, you used to
yeah,
hang with everybody in the room, and now everybody's taking your head off.
yeah. It was especially, the aspects of like, in wrestling, the last thing you want to do is be on your back.
Hmm.
But in jiu-jitsu, everybody's just like laying on their back, and so that aspect was just really always just super weird. And in wrestling, your head's real low, so you're just getting guillotined like left and right. The biggest first problem for the wrestler is always just getting guillotined a ton. But but yeah, I think it's just like kind of the awkward nature of jujitsu at the first. Guys are just so like just relaxed, sitting on their butt, and then they're just catching you and all this stuff. And as a wrestler, you're very tense. You're like, you want this to be like a tense, like hard, aggressive battle. And this guy's just like, he's looking at you like, all right, come on, come over here, like so, yeah, that took a while to like kind of like figure out and understand. But at the same time, I always it kind of matched my personality pretty quickly because um, I was never really that aggressive of a person or like that into that wrestling speed anyway. So the jiu-jitsu speed and the ability to kind of play with your speed and have that kind of like nonchalant, like, go ahead, try bring it to me, and I'm going to use that as a trap. Like, I liked that. Once I got a sense of what that was, I really liked that. But it definitely took some time. Once I switched over, so I started no gi, because I only did a couple classes with the gi, and then I found 10th Planet that was there in San Francisco and started training with Danny Procopo's gym in San Francisco there. And so he had a wrestling day on Thursdays, and he had like a King of the Hill. It was just only wrestling, and we do King of the Hill. So I had one day a week where I actually felt really good, where I could like actually do well with everybody else, But then on every other day of the week, I'd just get mopped up. So
Is that difficult for you at that time?
it
Meaning
was
in a
not.
sense,
It
like
was
you have
okay.
only
It was
one day when
okay.
you dominate, and then
It was,
all the other days you are the
yeah.
ragdoll.
Yeah, nah, I mean, it was okay. It was like all of those things, like I was saying, like you feel all the elements of it, but no, it's cool. It's like I love seeing the depth of like of the sport of like these guys, because all these guys were competing. Denny was like my age. He was running this gym in San Francisco, and he was like 21, and he's like competing, at the top of the sport. He had just won brown belt worlds, so he was competing at the top of the sport. He was the best competitor in 10th Planet, and we had a bunch of guys that were going to different IBJJF worlds and competing, and we had that gym at that time like had a lot of competitors. Almost like our inner core from that gym, we have like pretty much 15 guys that have all now become black belts. Like, I think 8 of us run gyms now, so our like core unit was like really, really invested, really interested, and we were competing all the time. So I liked seeing them. I liked kind of seeing what they were doing, all the weird styles they had with their rubber guards and go-go bladas, and just the 10th Planet system. It's got all of its names and all of its kind of ways, and then we were, this core group in this little, I don't know, San Francisco is such a cool little incubator because you can just walk around it. At least at that time, it was a very healthy kind of a good kind of place because it still had good energy before it kind of turned down like it is now. But yeah, it attracted me at that point. It definitely I loved it. A big aspect I really liked at that point, kind of noticing, was that like I could even see that like everyone was still figuring the sport out. The sport was like I could see that early on that like people, even my coach like Denny, he would constantly say like when people would ask questions, he'd be like, okay, I'm not sure. Let's feel it out. And then he would like go try it and he would feel it and then he would give his response. And people were very open like that. Anytime I'd watch instructionals or look at anyone from jiu-jitsu, everyone is kind of humble in their knowledge. They're like, this is kind of what I think, but there's different ideas out there. So I could see that like, okay, this sport's still figuring itself out. And I liked that because that meant that there's a lot of room a lot of space for you to do that yourself, for you to feel out.
Are you thinking at that point of time that you will become a black belt, that you're going to have your own place?
No, at that time I was in San Francisco for their tech scene, for the startup scene. I was like involved in that stuff, just doing like different marketing, trying to I was there for the tech scene. So I thought I was just doing it as a hobby. I enjoyed that I had found it. I was competing, so I liked having that side, but I didn't think it was going to take over at all. I thought I was going to definitely stay focused on what I was trying to find within tech. And jiu-jitsu is going to just kind of be this side thing.
At which
it took
point?
a long time to switch.
At which point the idea comes to your mind?
What it really took until like I was a purple belt, and I've been a purple belt for a while, like probably 3.5 years or so. And Eddy was getting ready for his rematch with Hoyler. And I just was kind of like, where everyone's talking about it, and everyone's like training Eddy. Eddy's like super focused. And I'm like, man, I gotta be around this. I gotta go down to LA and I gotta experience this, So I went down to LA. I like rented a studio and stayed there for a month leading up to Eddy's match with Hoyler, and just kind of joined in with that and got to feel Eddy like get ready and feel all the energy and everything, and then watch him compete against Hoyler, and he just put on a show. And during that time, he was coming up with his idea for EBI. He was talking to us all about how he wanted to make this submission only show and what his thoughts were with the overtime and all of that. And I ended up like kind of gaining his favor somehow, or because he ended up inviting me along with Gio to compete on the show. And so that was a real big kind of turning point in my head, where I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting, But even then I was like, okay, well, we're going to at least give these next 4 months leading up to the show, like we're going to go all in for that. But I hadn't necessarily switched in my head yet, though, that jiu-jitsu was number one. But I was definitely at least going to give number one leading up to this EBI one, And so then I switched to Gio's gym. I ended up actually living in the garage at the Spider House with him and a bunch of other guys, and we're all just training together in Oceanside, leading up to EBI 1 for about 4 months. And I kind of just let my online business go. I was doing like SEO services and different stuff. I kind of just let that go and focused all on jiu-jitsu. And EBI 1 went well. I was able to hit that move that I'd come up with, the Hindulatine, a couple of times, and it really made a big effect on people. I got a lot of like interest, a lot of reach out, and Geo won, so it was like this really big moment. We had so much fun, and it was EBI 1. It was like kind of this, everyone felt it was this kind of like turning point, So I remember feeling all that, and then it was the first time I really enjoyed competing, where I was able to like kind of like take the energy of the crowd and use it and not like be anxious. I think it was so much because I knew that I had no, I was coming out as a purple belt. I had no, I wasn't the guy that was supposed to win or anything. So, and I had a very clear focus. I was like, I just got to hit some of my Hindulatines, and that's really all I got to do, So I had a really clear focus. And so, after I hit each Hindulatine, I'd walk around the crowd and everybody's high-fiving. I was able to actually take that energy in rather than like kind of be stressed and anxious and like trying to get in my own head and listen to the right music and whatever or not, to get ready for the match. So yeah, it was one of the first times I was able to actually kind of break out of that space, really enjoy competing, and yeah, that was really the turning point for me, was EBI 1. After that, I kind of started to think like, okay, I think I'm gonna make jiu-jitsu number 1. I only have a short window. At that time, I kind of thought about it as like, I only got a short window to compete, age-wise. So let's play out that window, and tech will always be there for me later on, and I can still be working on this stuff, but I'll make it number 2. I'll make jiu-jitsu number 1.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
Jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
still number 1, and
It's still number 1.
does
Yeah.
that feel good that life happened the way how it happened? That
Yeah.
EBI 1, that you run into, you develop good relationship with Eddy, and he invited you, and you were able to hit your move, and crowd loves it. You get all the positive attention around this. I mean, it feels like right things happen at the right time almost.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're always a bit surprising. And so there's that always that element that's like, you have in your head how you imagine it and what you think you're doing, and then all of a sudden there's this left turn, but the left turn ends up turning out to be the right turn.
Mm.
It ends up turning to be like just what you needed, just what the better path you were always supposed to go on.
The time when you went to LA, when you're hanging out with Eddy, is that the first time you met him?
He had come down once before to do a seminar in San Francisco, so I'd met him once before, but otherwise, yeah, that was like the first time I'd really got to hang around him and be around him. Yeah.
What's your first impression of Eddy? I mean, talk about pioneer
Yeah.
of what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Just an amazing pioneer. People don't even realize all the different elements that he did pioneer, like we're talking about like one of like pretty much the first guy to open a gym without a gi and just be a completely no gi gym. But in a lot of ways, just totally pushing that no gi movement before it was even a thing, and that's a massive deal. That's the main part of the sport now. It's all about no gi, The other main thing was naming stuff. We didn't ever used to name stuff. And I mean, that's kind of a wild, like, thing to say you could pioneer. Like, oh, I started naming stuff before we named stuff. Like, and now I get it. Give us flack for what the names we chose. Cool. But like, actually the using names, and like that was actually important, and that actually made a difference to know the difference of this detail, and we'll give that a new name just because it's a new detail. It's like, it really helps. It really helps to segment, and we didn't know that before. Or I mean, maybe we did, but I get the art in the other way, the art of like, how that is, but yeah, I mean, there's that, like, he started one of the first modern jiu-jitsu tournaments. There's so many like things that like he changed that like people don't really realize. And the thing is, a lot of people like that, they could be caricatures, but Eddy stays fresh. Eddy constantly stays fresh. He keeps on evolving. He's just really passionate. He's really all in. Eddy's just 100% real, and he's also like a real leader. Like that's the other thing that really like you can just tell, and that gripped me, is like he's really there with all of us. He's really connecting. He's really leading us. He's constantly like, we're in us as all as 10th Planet people. We're all in like a big all kinds of different levels of like group chats and like team coordination, and we have like events that we're constantly having together, and like Eddy is like 100% just as much the leader today as he's always been, and he's still like guiding. He's still that voice that is able to like lead in the right way. Like he has the right things to say at the right times, that is such a rare like aspect, especially like today. There's not a lot of, you don't really meet or interact with a lot of leaders, just, to be honest, like, or people even have that, are even able to elicit that trait. For the most part, we all try to be equals amongst each other. So we don't even try to necessarily take on that leadership style. But Eddy does it in such a good, he's also so good at keeping the peace. He's so good at like, Yeah, 10th Planet's done a really good job at like staying together, feeling like a family, and not having like these little fractures in between us.
I
And
would somebody recently I was talking to somebody and they made a comment that 10th Planet is essentially one of the few, if not the only, jiu-jitsu organization that hasn't split in some ways. I mean, many of them have over the last several decades, right? And
yeah,
right or wrong, again, no judgment here. People
yeah,
have
things
reasons to do
happen.
what they do.
Yeah,
But I feel like 10th Planet is one of the handful ones that really stay true. And I'm sure people come and go from 10th Planet, no question about
yeah,
that. But
for
there's
sure.
you don't hear a big splits from
Yeah,
10th Planet.
yeah, yeah. No, it's really unique, honestly, what we have going on. And even when you have an association, like there's plenty of associations out there, but with 10th Planet, when you join a 10th Planet, you can now go train at any of the other 10th planets. Like it's an actual association like that. You can go drop in, like you're a part of the team, you know? I don't think that exists for any of the other associations. I don't think when you're, on one Gracie Baja, you get to go to all the Gracie Bajas, or when you're at one Checkmat or one, any of these associations, it doesn't mean that you get to go train in all the other ones. Like it's a real group. We set up events all the time. We have our teams fight teams. So a lot of times we'll do these quintets amongst we'll have like blue belt quintets or brown belt quintets. And then each of our different gyms will bring together their brown belts and then we'll battle each other out at these different events. And those are really fun. We still have our trials for different events, our 10 PQs. And those are ran like right at Eddy's gym, so like if an EBI is coming up or a combat jiu-jitsu or some other team event where we've got to choose who's going to get the spot, Eddy's running those trials right at his gym, and so that's still happening. Every year we have yearly events. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of drama and things that come up. That's very natural, but so far we've been able to handle it and been able to like keep the love throughout. And Eddy's just been able to stay that kind of central voice. And I think we also our 10th Planets do a good job of doing that in each location, just kind of with their local culture. Like I usually see it like we're usually like running the open mats and we're inviting all the gyms to come through and roll. We've always been very cool with cross training. We've always been trying to like invite everyone to come train with us. We want to learn from everyone. Eddy's always said that 10th Planet is like it's like the Bruce Lee of jiu-jitsu. It's like we want to incorporate anything that works, and whatever actually works, we're going to keep it. We're not beholden to anything. We're not trying to, if you show us, if Danaher shows us something and it works, we're going to take it. And we're going to give Danaher credit too. Like Eddy's constantly giving credit. Whenever Eddy talks about any little thing he has, he always cites the person he got it from. Always.
Like a true leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about your life, how all of this has fell in place, in a sense? Right place, right time, things happen for a reason. I mean, look at you now. I mean, many would look at you, or probably do, and they think you're a lucky cat. I mean, you're living the dream. You have your own place. You train as you wish. You have your students. You are a leader. People look up to you, and all this came from this almost coincidental trip to LA. And just kind of stumbling upon, and then connecting with Eddy, and then ending up on the card, and then doing your fancy move, right? And it all kind of fell in place. Have you ever thought what would happen if you didn't go to LA?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would have changed a lot of other stuff. I mean, I would have just kept following the texting probably, which I'm somebody that like I'm following my heart. I'm following like what I believe in. So, and the quote unquote tech side of me, it's like I'm looking at that's still with me today. I'm actually like bringing these projects back, because what that side is it's like I want to be involved in projects that are making an impact on the world, that are changing things. There are certain things that I see that, that need to be changed, that aren't quite right. So I want to be involved in projects that are making a difference in certain things like health and lifestyle, and the way we live and eat and move, the kind of communities we live in, the kind of houses we live in. I want to see changes in those things, So I was always going to be a part of that. I would have just taken that road, and the jiu-jitsu part of me just would have never happened. But this jiu-jitsu side is like, it's given me the platform for the rest. It's also helped me to learn about my body, learn about my health, to connect with people through a physical sport. I think I would have done it through a much more mental way, whereas now I'm getting to do it through such more of a integrated kind of physical way. But jiu-jitsu is so much more than just the physical. Like, you just, all aspects happen at the gym, like, and especially when you're like a teacher, it's wild, because I'm teaching, I'm competing, I'm still a student, I'm still a friend at the gym. It's like you have all aspects, within that. It's wild how much. I mean, jiu-jitsu is getting you to be a public speaker. It's getting you to step in front of people. I used to, like, in school, I couldn't do public speaking at all. I'd like step out in front of the class, and my jaw would clench up. I couldn't even talk, like I'd
Is
have
that
serious
is that
problems.
difficult for you? All of these hats you have to wear as an instructor, as a business owner, as a leader, as a
Yeah.
psychologist
Yeah.
too, and everybody comes
Yeah.
to you with their problems.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there are aspects to grow into, but what's nice about them is they all have a very cohesive goal. They're all along the same line of, like, health, physical development, mental sturdiness. They have this, like, it's like the same truth through all of them. So it's like once you've learned one thing, it applies to everything. And so that aspect makes it feel like it's the same hat, even though you're stepping into. It's like that's why I was able to, like, let's take for example the example of, like, being able to step in front of people and actually be able to talk. The only reason I felt like I could do that was because I felt like I knew jiu-jitsu. So whereas before, you step in front of people, you try to do a public speak, you don't really feel like you know what you're saying. You wrote these things on a paper, and so now you got to, like, say it. But jiu-jitsu made you feel comfortable stepping in front of these people, because you've been spending a lot of time learning this stuff, and you knew that you could teach them. So suddenly you felt comfortable. You felt okay stepping in front of a class of 30 people and teaching and showing them what you know. So yeah, it has a very clear through line, though, that's what I think is so nice about it. That's why, that's kind of what they say about jiu-jitsu is, like, it's a lifestyle. It's because it has such a red through line that kind of connects everything into one lens. It helps you do all those things. It helps you, like, it's so wild to travel the world and teach seminars. Like, you're like, you're seeing a whole new place, you're meeting a whole new people, speaking a whole new language, and then you're going to teach a seminar in front of them, and then you're going to roll with them, and then they're going to take you around to places. It's like, that's like the whole nother level of, like, every aspect combined, but yet every aspect is combined through this, like, nice one clear lens. And so yeah, it's beautiful how it, like, just kind of brings it through to a simple seed, which is just like your physical understanding, and our ability to, like, kind of grapple with each other. Yeah, what that means.
So it appears that I'm listening to you. It appears as you in a way you are fortunate. I mean, traveling, doing what you
Oh, yeah,
love, and
definitely
like,
unfortunate.
yeah. What's next for you? What has
Next.
Ben looking forward to?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, like, trying to be the best. I feel like right now I have, like, a very good platform laid. I'm at my height. and I've got a couple years I can still really squeeze out of like trying to really push to be the literal best, you know. So right now I'm wanting to like, I feel my best. I feel the best I've ever been. I'm putting in my time to become a better athlete, to really be a full level athlete, to have the full stand up. I'm trying to right now to take everything I've gotten up until this point. My body's still healthy, everything's still good. I still feel like I'm at peak, you know. So let's take all this experience and let's push. I want to actually be the best. So I'm still making that push, and this is the time right now with competitions, with all these opportunities. So I want to be a part of this little breakout moment. So there's that, and then you know, I'm going to be bringing back in this a tech person, you know. I'm about to launch a Jiu Jitsu platform. I'm about to launch some different platforms and different things. It's kind of wild the way AI has been coming in. You can honestly just code stuff yourself. And so I've been doing that. I've been sitting down with AI and just coding stuff myself. So there's a lot of
think that
I'm interested in, because, you know, I'm very involved in like health. I've been learning about diet, learning how to be healthy, learning how to everything that's wrong, you know, and I want to be involved in helping guide people and helping guide all of us to like a better place. So that's always my greater mission, my greater interest, is like being involved and seeing us get to a better place. And no matter what happens with jiu-jitsu, that's the key. But yeah, so I'll use this push to get to that.
You mentioned AI. Do you feel like AI will ever contribute in a large way to jiu-jitsu?
Oh yeah, it's about to. Yeah. Yeah, it's about to.
But how do you think that's going to happen?
Oh man, like, well, so it's hard. I don't want to release too many of the things that I'm about to even release with my platform here pretty soon, but I mean, here soon, like we don't. This is an aspect one right now where we don't have, but we're pretty close to AI being able to just understand our poses, understand our positions, understand our moves. So if it once it can look at jiu-jitsu and understand exactly what's happening, I mean, just imagine the feedback you could have during your rolls. You would know everything that you got caught by, but even more importantly, you would know where your guard got passed and with what move. You'd have such a clear feedback list of like what you did correctly, what you did wrongly, and you could.
Wouldn't that replace coaching and instructors?
It replaces some aspects of it. It definitely changes coaching and instructors for sure, but there's always a hands-on level that just can't get replaced, you know. So that's one really nice level with jiu-jitsu. We can improve our intelligence tools, but we'll never be able to replace the hands-on aspect, you know. So you'll never be able to, like, you know, walk into a room with Eddy or Jean-Jacques and have them give you that feel of that position. The AI could tell you how to do an electric chair, maybe, but Eddy doing an electric chair on you, I mean, that's just, now you got the feel, you know. Now Eddy's
very unique feel.
yeah, unique feel. Yeah, you might not want to feel too much of that, but you know, I mean, so in that aspect, our hands-on element, you know, we have something indefensible there that obviously AI is not going to be able to take away from us. But it is going to be interesting. You know, imagine just like, this is an aspect people don't see right now too much, but it's going to really improve search. So when you want anything, when you're thinking of anything that you want, you're going to be able to ask for it, and you're going to be able to see it much more quickly. And so this could be for anything. Like if you're learning a certain style of guard pass right now, you could say what that style of guard pass is, and YouTube itself will have a better search algorithm. So it will be able to search every YouTube video and see who is teaching this guard pass. You know,
it's not only that.
I might still be looking at the Tackett channel, but YouTube's search algorithm is better now. It shows me the guard pass that Tackett is teaching in this video.
Well, it's not only that. Like, I come from technology background too, so like I have, you know, I completely understand where you're going with all this. But like we can also start talking about context searching. So
Yeah.
like right now we search only based on keywords or title description, right? But something that is, we don't search the contents, right? But if the description or keywords are incorrect, you're gonna get a wrong video, right? What if we could say this specific technique with this circumstances, and it gives you part of the clip that literally shows that, because that's what's shown, not that was described, right? So this is where technology really comes in powerful, right?
Yeah. And so that aspect of is going to be super interesting. And then even like within like you're saying context, like so that like let's say that is headquarters passing. So it's going to know that that's one aspect of headquarters passing. So then that's also a level of context. So then it will tell you, here's also 20 videos that are also on headquarters passing. Would you like to watch those? You know, so understanding context in general, as it understands context, it's gonna it's gonna be such a better teacher. You know, it's gonna be a wild tool.
It's gonna be interesting. All of this is gonna be very interesting as Jiu-Jitsu continues evolving. There's so much more ahead. We talked about stand-up playing more significant role than ever, and then having technology as tools to really educate ourselves. I mean, arguably, AI might make the same impact as videos have made impact a couple decades ago, right? I mean, YouTube, and I mean, arguably, BJJ Fanatics and some of the other platforms have changed how Jiu-Jitsu is being taught and learned, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's night and day.
Yeah. Ben, we've been at this for well over an hour at this point, so we got to start wrapping this up slowly. But if anybody wants to follow up as part of this conversation and reach out to you and connect with you, perhaps where are you available? Instagram, websites, where's your place?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram a lot. My Instagram is BenEddy10P. And then I have a YouTube channel, Ben Eddy Bravo. And those are my two main places.
As always, I will make sure that all the links are in the show notes of this episode. So if you guys want to connect with Ben or visit him at his place, feel free to connect. Feel free to reach out. What an amazing resource he is. And, you know, as always, it's all about collaboration and all about connecting with different people. Ben, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your amazing life story with some of the philosophies and some of the future things that you see coming up next decade or two. It was great talking to you, and as always, I'll be sitting back and watching as you continue making impact on our community.
Thanks, man. Yeah, this was a great conversation. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I'm teaching at 10th Planet Austin too, just by the way. So it's 10th Planet Austin's where I'm teaching at right now. I also teach at 10th Planet Round Rock. We got 3 locations up here, but you might see me anywhere around, but that's where I'm at currently.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks. This was great.
Let's wrap this up for today. Thanks for joining me.
All right.
Thank you for listening to RŌL Radio. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to leave us a review and help us make the show even more amazing. For future episodes, check out our website and follow us on all major podcast platforms. Take care.